My parents didn't invite me or my kids to Christmas. My mom said, "Your sister is bringing her boyfriend home to meet everyone. She doesn't want your kids there, she says they'd ruin the perfect picture." "I understand," I replied quietly and ended the call. But the very next day, they showed up at my house, angry and demanding answers. And the second they saw me standing there, my brother's girlfriend suddenly spoke up and said, "That phone call on December 15th didn't just ruin Christmas, it ripped apart everything I thought I knew about my own family." The bitter truth? My own children, my sweet Emma and Lucas, were deemed an inconvenience, an embarrassment, not just for Christmas dinner, but for existing. My name is Vivian, and when my phone rang that day, just 3 days after I'd innocently texted my mom to ask about Christmas dinner plans, I had no idea my entire world was about to shift. "Sweetheart, about Christmas," Mom began, her voice taking on that particular, sickly sweet tone she used when she knew she was about to drop a bombshell. "There's been a change of plans." I was folding laundry in my living room, balancing the phone between my ear and shoulder. Through the doorway, I could see Emma, 6, and Lucas, 4, completely absorbed, building some elaborate tower with blocks. They were laughing, innocent, oblivious. "What kind of change?" I asked, a familiar knot already twisting in my stomach. "Well, your brother Nathan is bringing Ashley to meet the family. You remember I mentioned he was dating someone? She's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Her father owns that pharmaceutical company downtown, and she's just perfect." The pause stretched, thick and uncomfortable. I prompted her. She cleared her throat. "Ashley is very particular about first impressions. Family gatherings are important to her, and Nathan really wants this to go well. He's thinking of proposing soon, and we want everything to be just right." My hands froze on a tiny shirt. "Mom, what are you trying to say?" "Your sister Madison feels it would be better if you and the kids sat this Christmas out." The words hung in the air, a punch to the gut. The children can be a bit energetic. Emma, with her questions about everything, and Lucas still has those tantrums sometimes. Ashley's not used to children, and your sister thinks they might ruin the perfect image we're trying to present. I actually laughed. It was a sharp, bitter sound. My sister Madison doesn't even live in the same state. When did she become the spokesperson for this family? Don't take that tone with me. Madison cares about Nathan's happiness. We all do. Ashley comes from a very refined background. We need to show that our family is equally sophisticated. You know how children can be unpredictable. They're 6 and 4, Mom. They're not unpredictable. They're normal kids. Exactly. And this needs to be an adult affair. Surely you understand. It's just one Christmas. You can celebrate with them on your own. Make it special, just the 3 of you. Something cold settled in my chest, replacing the initial hurt. I looked at Emma and Lucas again, still building their tower, still so utterly unaware of the cruelty being discussed in hushed tones about them. "I understand," I said quietly, my voice surprisingly steady. "Thank you for letting me know. You're being very mature about this. I knew you would understand. Maybe we can do a separate thing with you and the kids next week." I hung up. Emma looked up from her blocks. "Who was that, Mommy?" "Just Grandma," I said, forcing a smile that felt like it might crack my face. "Everything's fine, sweetheart." But it wasn't fine. Not even close. That evening, after the kids were in bed, I sat staring at old photo albums. Pictures of family Christmases past, when I was the golden child. Before my divorce from Tyler 3 years ago shattered the pristine image my parents had cultivated. Back when I had a successful marriage, a beautiful home, and 2 adorable children who didn't inconvenience anyone's social climbing. After Tyler left me for his dental hygienist, everything changed. My parents had been sympathetic at first, but their patience wore thin. I moved into a modest rental, took a job as an administrative assistant, and learned to stretch every dollar. My children, once the centerpieces, became liabilities. Too loud, too messy, too much evidence that their daughter hadn't maintained the perfect life they envisioned. Madison, my younger sister, remained unmarried, career-focused in New York, visiting twice a year, always staying at hotels, always maintaining a careful distance from the chaos of my life. And Nathan, the baby of the family at 26, still lived at home, working at Dad's accounting firm, the perpetual golden boy who could do no wrong. I should have seen this coming. Last Thanksgiving, Madison had made a snide comment about Emma asking too many questions. "It's exhausting," she'd said to Mom, not bothering to lower her voice. "Can't she just eat quietly like a normal child?" Emma had been asking about cranberry sauce, whether cranberries grew on trees or bushes. She was curious and bright. And my sister found that annoying. The next morning, I woke with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. I got the kids ready, dropped them off, and went to work with a plan slowly forming in my mind. "You look different today," my boss, Robert Kingsley, said when I brought him his morning coffee. Robert was a senior partner, sharp, fair, and had become something of a mentor. "Something happened. My family uninvited me from Christmas," I said, surprising myself with my honesty. "My kids specifically. They're worried my 6-year-old and 4-year-old will ruin the sophisticated impression they're trying to make for my brother's new girlfriend." Robert sat down his pen and looked at me over his reading glasses. "That's remarkably cruel." "It is," I agreed. "And I'm done pretending it isn't." He leaned back. "What are you going to do about it?" "I don't know yet. But I'm not going to just accept it and move on." "Good," he said. "Your family doesn't deserve your grace if they can't extend you basic decency." That conversation stuck with me. By the time I picked up Emma and Lucas from school, I'd made several decisions. First, we were going to have the best Christmas the three of us had ever experienced. Second, I was going to stop making excuses for my family's behavior to my children. And third, I was going to document everything. I started a private blog that evening, detailing the phone call, the history of my parents' disappointment, and the gradual exclusion my children and I had endured. It wasn't public. It was just for me, a record of everything I'd been minimizing and excusing for 3 years. The next day, December 16th, we went to a Christmas tree farm. Emma and Lucas ran through the rows of evergreens like they'd been set free from prison. We chose a slightly lopsided Douglas fir that was taller than our living room ceiling. I didn't care. We'd make it fit. "This is the best tree ever," Lucas declared, his face flushed. "The very best," Emma echoed. We were loading it onto my car when my phone buzzed. "Madison. What the hell did you say to Mom?" she demanded without preamble. "Hello to you, too. Don't play games. She called me crying, saying you were cold and dismissive when she tried to explain about Christmas. Nathan is furious. Do you have any idea how important this is to him?" I secured the tree with bungee cords, phone wedged against my shoulder again. I said I understood. That's what she wanted to hear, wasn't it? Your tone was apparently horrible, and you hung up on her. What is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? I repeated slowly. Madison, she uninvited my children from Christmas because they might inconvenience your desire to impress some woman Nathan's dating. Ashley isn't some woman. She's important. And yes, sometimes we have to make sacrifices for family. I'm family, I said. Emma and Lucas are family. You know what I mean. Don't be deliberately obtuse. This is bigger than your hurt feelings. Nathan's future is at stake. Then I'm sure he'll have a lovely Christmas without us. I hung up. Emma was watching me from the back seat. Was that Aunt Madison? Yes, honey. She sounded mad. She'll be okay. But Madison wasn't okay, and neither was the rest of my family. Over the next few days, I received a barrage of texts and calls. Dad lectured me about family loyalty. Mom sent long messages about how hurt she was by my attitude. Nathan called me selfish and jealous that he'd found someone wonderful while I was still alone. Each message went into my blog, carefully documented. Instead, I focused on my children. We decorated our too-tall tree, made gingerbread houses, and watched every Christmas movie we could find. I took them ice skating, something we'd never done because Tyler had always said it was too expensive. Emma fell approximately 600 times and got up laughing every single time. Lucas held onto the wall for 45 minutes before finally gliding 3 feet on his own and shrieking with joy. "I did it, Mommy. Did you see?" "I saw, baby. You were amazing." The rink attendant, a college-aged girl, skated over. "Your kids are adorable." "First time skating for all of us," I admitted. "I'm probably worse than they are." She laughed. "You're doing great. Family skate sessions are my favorite part of this job. You can tell when people are making real memories, not just going through the motions." Her words stayed with me. My parents had taken us to expensive resorts and fancy parties, but I couldn't remember a single time when we'd done something just for the sheer joy of it, mess and imperfection included. That week, I started documenting our adventures on a private Instagram, just for us. Photos of Emma's lopsided gingerbread house, Lucas covered in frosting, a video of them singing off-key carols, their crumpled, glitter-covered artwork displayed proudly on our refrigerator. Tyler sent a perfunctory text on December 20th, "Kids can spend New Year's Eve with me and Stephanie if you want a break," not asking about Christmas, not acknowledging he'd barely seen them since October, just offering to take them when it was convenient for him. I didn't respond. On December 22nd, Emma came home from school with an art project, a family tree. Literally drawn as a tree. At the trunk was me, then her and Lucas on the main branches. But filling out the smaller branches and leaves were names I didn't immediately recognize. "Who's Miss Patricia?" I asked, pointing. "My teacher. She always helps me with my science questions." "And Mr. Chen, the librarian. He orders books specially for me." Emma traced another branch. "This is Sophie from my class. And this is her mom, Mrs. Rivera, who always brings the good snacks for birthday parties. And this is you and me and Lucas, obviously. And here's Grandma Helen and Grandpa Marcus." My parents' names were there, but on the tiniest branch, far from the trunk, barely connected. "You put your teacher and librarian on your family tree?" I asked gently. Emma looked at me with those wise eyes. "Family is people who care about you and show up for you. That's what Miss Patricia said when she gave us the assignment. She said, we get to choose what family means." I hugged her so tightly she squeaked. "Your teacher is absolutely right." That art project went on the refrigerator, too. Every time I looked at it, I felt both sadness and relief. Sadness that my 6-year-old had already learned biology doesn't guarantee love. Relief that she understood her worth wasn't determined by people who couldn't see it. The barrage of messages intensified. Nathan sent a voice memo late on December 22nd, his tone equal parts angry and desperate. "Ashley keeps asking questions about why you're not coming to Christmas. I tried to explain, but she doesn't understand. Can you please just call her and smooth this over? Tell her it's not as bad as it sounds. I'm begging you. This relationship means everything to me." I deleted it without finishing. Dad tried a different approach early on December 23rd, a formal email that read like a business negotiation. He outlined the terms: arrive at 2 p.m. after the formal brunch, stay for exactly 2 hours, keep the children occupied and quiet, and leave before the evening cocktail hour. He ended with, "This is a generous compromise given your recent attitude." I stared at that email for a long time. A generous compromise. As if my children's presence in their grandparents' home required negotiation and strict time limits. As if we were being granted a privilege rather than basic family inclusion. I didn't delete that one. I forwarded it to my private blog, adding it to the documentation. Someday, when Emma and Lucas were old enough to ask why we didn't see their grandparents, I wanted to have a clear record. Not to poison them, but to show them the truth. I had tried. I had wanted them to be part of a bigger family. But I wouldn't accept breadcrumbs and conditional love on their behalf. After that email, the messages stopped. The silence from December 23rd onward felt both peaceful and ominous. On Christmas Eve morning, our neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, knocked on our door with a plate of homemade cookies. She was 73, lived alone, and had become an unofficial grandma to half the kids on our street. "I heard you're staying home for Christmas," she said. "Would you three like to come to my house for dinner tonight? Nothing fancy, just ham and potatoes and too many desserts." "We wouldn't want to intrude," I started. "Nonsense. I'm cooking anyway, and I'd love the company. Plus, I have presents for the little ones if that's all right." Emma and Lucas were already nodding enthusiastically behind me. "We'd love to," I said, and meant it. That evening, we sat around Mrs. Patterson's dining table, covered with too many desserts, and she told stories about her childhood Christmases in the 1950s. Emma and Lucas listened rapt, asking questions, laughing. Mrs. Patterson had gotten them books, carefully chosen, a science experiment kit for Emma, a superhero anthology for Lucas. "You didn't have to do this," I told her as she poured me tea. "I know," she said simply. "But I wanted to. Those children of yours are special, and you're doing a wonderful job with them all on your own." I had to blink back tears. When was the last time someone in my family had said anything like that to me? Walking home that night, Lucas holding my hand, Emma chattering about her favorite story, I felt profoundly grateful. We had community. We had people who chose to be in our lives. We had enough. Christmas Eve arrived, and I'd heard nothing from my family. I assumed they were done trying to convince me to apologize for existing. I made hot chocolate, and we read The Night Before Christmas on the couch with all the lights off except the tree. Emma's head rested on my shoulder. Lucas curled against my other side. "This is my favorite Christmas ever," Emma whispered. "Mine too," Lucas agreed sleepily. "Mine three," I said, kissing the tops of their heads. Christmas morning was chaos in the best way. The kids woke me up at 5:47 a.m., jumping on my bed. We went downstairs to find the modest pile of presents I'd saved for months to afford. Their faces lit up like I'd given them the entire world. Emma got the science kit she'd been wanting. Lucas got a set of superhero action figures, and they both got new winter coats that actually fit. We made pancakes, then spent the afternoon building an elaborate cityscape with Lucas's new toys and conducting experiments with Emma's kit that resulted in a small volcanic eruption on the kitchen table. I didn't even care about the mess. At 2:30 p.m., someone knocked on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. We were in our pajamas. The house was a disaster. I opened the door to find my entire family standing on my porch: Mom, Dad, Madison, Nathan, and a woman I assumed was the famous Ashley. They looked like they'd stepped out of a catalog, coordinated in tasteful Christmas outfits. Ashley wore a cream-colored cashmere sweater and pearls. Actual pearls. "Surprise," Mom said, her smile strained. "We decided to bring Christmas to you." Nobody moved to come inside. We all stood there in a frozen tableau, me in my ratty snowman pajamas, them in their designer clothes. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "That's not a very warm welcome," Dad said, frowning. "We drove all the way across town." 30 minutes, I said. "You drove 30 minutes on Christmas, the day you specifically told me not to come to your house because my children would ruin your perfect image." Ashley's eyes widened. She looked at Nathan, then at my parents. "I'm sorry, what?" "There's been a misunderstanding," Mom said quickly. "Your sister took something the wrong way." "Oh my God," Ashley interrupted, staring at my mother. "You actually did that?" I thought Nathan was exaggerating. The porch went silent except for Christmas music drifting from a house down the street. Nathan's face had gone pale. "Ashley, let's just go inside and, no." Ashley stepped back from the group. "Is this why there were no pictures of kids at your parents' house?" "Nathan, you told me your sister was busy with her ex-husband's family this year." You said that's why she wouldn't be there. It's complicated, Nathan started. It's really not, I said. They didn't want my kids there because 7-year-olds ask questions and 5-year-olds sometimes cry, and that wouldn't fit the sophisticated image they wanted to project. I'm divorced, which is embarrassing enough, but having actual children with needs and personalities. That's too much. Madison made a disgusted sound. You're being dramatic. We were trying to make one day special for a stranger, I finished. You were trying to make one day special for someone Nathan's been dating for what, 3 months? 4 months, Nathan said quietly. Ashley looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. You chose to exclude your sister and her children from Christmas for me, without even asking what I thought about it. You said you wanted to make a good impression. You said family was important to you. Yes, family. Real family, not some staged performance. I have 3 nephews and a niece, Nathan. They're loud and messy and amazing, and I spend every holiday with them because they're family. Ashley turned to me, really looking at me in my old pajamas with my messy hair and no makeup. I am so sorry, she said. I had no idea this was happening. If I'd known, I would have, what? I asked, insisted they include us? Then I would have been there on sufferance, knowing my kids were only welcome because your conscience demanded it. That's not fair. Mom protested. We're here now, aren't we? We brought gifts for Emma and Lucas. We wanted to include you after all. After all what? I asked. After you had your perfect Christmas morning without us? After you got your photos and your brunch and your sophisticated celebration, now you're here to ease your guilt? Just then, a small voice came from behind me. Grandma? Lucas had wandered out of the living room, clutching one of his action figures, wearing his new Superman pajamas. Emma appeared behind him, her new science goggles perched on her head. Grandma! What are you doing here? The look on my mother's face when she saw them was something I'll never forget. Not joy, not love, but something closer to discomfort, like they were an inconvenient reminder of her own cruelty. We came to see you. Mom said with false brightness. Merry Christmas. Emma looked at me, confused. I thought they didn't want us at Christmas. The silence that followed was deafening. Sweetheart, Dad started. That's what you said, Mommy. Emma continued, her 6-year-old logic cutting through all the adult pretense. You said Grandma said we couldn't come because we might ruin things for Uncle Nathan's new friend. Ashley actually gasped. She turned to Nathan. I can't do this. I can't be with someone whose family treats children this way. And who goes along with it? These are kids. They're your family. Ashley, please. Nathan reached for her arm. She pulled away. Does your Uber app work? She asked me. I need to get back to the city. I'll call a car, I said automatically. It's Christmas Day. Nathan protested. Yes, and I'd rather spend it literally anywhere else than with people who disinvite children from family celebrations. Ashley looked at me again. I really am sorry. Your kids seem wonderful, and you deserve so much better than this. She walked down my porch steps and pulled out her phone. Nathan stood frozen, watching his perfect Christmas implode. Look what you've done. Madison hissed at me. Are you happy now? Actually, I said, and meant it, I am. We had a beautiful Christmas morning. Just the 3 of us. It was perfect. You're being incredibly selfish. Dad said. We came here to make amends, and you're throwing it in our faces. You came here to feel better about yourselves. There's a difference. Mom's eyes filled with tears. How can you say that? We're your family. We've always supported you. You supported the version of me that fit your image. The married one with a perfect house and quiet, well-behaved children who performed on command. The second my life got messy, the second I needed actual support, you decided I was an embarrassment. That's not true. Mom insisted, but her voice wavered. Isn't it? When's the last time you asked to see the kids? When's the last time you came to one of Emma's school events or Lucas's soccer games? When's the last time you acted like we mattered to you as people, not just as accessories to your family portrait? Nobody answered. Emma tugged on my pajama shirt. Mommy, can we go back to our movie now? I want to see what happens to the Grinch. Yes, baby. Go ahead. I'll be there in a minute. She and Lucas disappeared back into the living room. I could hear them settling onto the couch, their voices already rising in commentary about the movie. We should go inside, Mom tried again. Talk about this properly. No, I said simply. You should leave. You made your choice about who is important to you, and it wasn't us. I've made my choice, too. We're done pretending. You're cutting us off? Madison asked, incredulously. Over this? Over years of this. Over 1,000 small cruelties that I excused because you're family. Over teaching my children that they're not good enough, not quiet enough, not convenient enough. They deserve better. I deserve better. Mom reached for my arm, but I stepped back. Do you remember last Easter? I asked her. When Lucas spilled grape juice on your white carpet. You told him he was clumsy and careless. He was 3 years old, Mom. 3. He cried for an hour afterward because he thought you hated him. That's not fair, she said weakly. I was just upset about the carpet. Or Emma's 5th birthday, when she wanted to show you her rock collection? You told her it was dirty and to put it away. She'd spent weeks collecting those rocks, learning about geology, so proud of herself. You dismissed her in 5 seconds. You're remembering things wrong, Dad interjected. Am I? What about Thanksgiving 2 years ago, when you seated us at the kids' table, even though Emma and Lucas were the only children there? You put us in the kitchen with the folding table while everyone else ate in the dining room. Madison was at the main table. Nathan was at the main table. But me and my kids weren't good enough. The silence stretched. None of them could deny it. Because it was all true. Those are small things, Madison finally said. You're holding grudges over tiny moments. They're not tiny to a child, I said quietly. Every single one of those moments taught my kids that they're less than, that they're tolerated but not celebrated. That their grandmother flinches when they get too close because they might be sticky or loud. That their grandfather sighs when they ask questions because they're interrupting adult conversation. We never meant, Mom started. It doesn't matter what you meant. It matters what you did. And what you did, consistently for 3 years, was make my children feel unwelcome in your home and in your lives. This Christmas dinner thing wasn't an isolated incident. It was just the clearest, most honest example of what's been happening all along. Nathan finally spoke, his voice hollow. Ashley's gone. She's really gone. Yes, I said. That's what happens when people see who you really are. This is your fault, he said, anger flooding his face. You couldn't just keep your mouth shut for one day. You had to ruin everything. I didn't ruin anything, Nathan. You did that yourself when you chose to exclude your family for someone you barely know. You chose presentation over people. That's on you. Dad stepped forward, using his authoritative voice. Now you listen here, young lady. We are your parents. You will treat us with respect. Respect is earned, I said. And you lost mine when you told me my children weren't welcome at Christmas. One mistake. Mom said. You're going to end our relationship over one mistake? It wasn't one mistake. It was just the one I finally decided not to excuse. I started to close the door. Merry Christmas. I hope it was everything you wanted it to be. I shut the door before anyone could respond. My hands were shaking, but I felt lighter than I had in years. Through the window, I watched them stand on my porch for another minute, arguing among themselves before finally walking back to their cars. Mommy, you're missing the best part. Emma called from the living room. I joined my children on the couch, squeezing between them, and let myself be absorbed back into the simple joy of an animated Christmas movie. Lucas climbed into my lap. Emma leaned against my shoulder, and everything else faded away. My phone buzzed constantly for the next hour. Angry texts from Madison, pleading messages from Mom. A curt message from Dad saying I was throwing away my family over nothing. I turned off my phone. Is everything okay? Emma asked during a commercial break. Everything is perfect, I told her. And I meant it. The days after Christmas brought more attempts at contact. Mom tried calling from different numbers. Madison sent emails with subject lines like family emergency that turned out to be just more guilt trips. Nathan sent a single text, *Ashley broke up with me. I hope you're satisfied, I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I spent the week between Christmas and New Year's with my kids. We went to the Children's Museum, saw a movie, and had a fancy dinner at their favorite pizza place where they got to design their own pizzas, and the waiter brought sparkling mocktails with umbrellas. On New Year's Eve, Robert called me into his office. I have an opportunity for you, he said. Jennifer in our estate planning division is retiring. She recommended you for her position. It would mean paralegal work, better hours, and a significant raise. I stared at him. I don't have a degree in paralegal studies. We'd sponsor your certification program. You're smart, organized, and you care about the work. That's what matters. He paused. You deserve good things to happen to you. Stop being surprised when they do. I accepted on the spot. That evening, as the kids and I watched the ball drop on TV, Emma asked, "Are we going to see Grandma and Grandpa anymore?" I'd been expecting this question. Do you want to? I asked. She thought about it seriously, her small face scrunched in concentration. They make you sad. They make me feel like I did something wrong, but I don't know what. You didn't do anything wrong, sweetheart. Sometimes adults make bad choices, and those choices hurt people. Like when Daddy left, she said softly. My heart cracked a little. Yes, like that. Lucas, who I thought was asleep against my side, stirred. I don't like when people make you sad, Mommy. I'm not sad anymore, I told them both. I'm actually happy. We have everything we need right here. Each other, Emma said sagely. Each other, I agreed. The new year brought changes. I started my paralegal certification classes online, studying after the kids went to bed. My new position at the firm came with responsibilities that challenged me in ways I'd forgotten I needed. I was good at this work, and people noticed. My parents tried a few more times to reach out, but their messages always carried the same subtext, *apologize. Make peace. Come back, never, we were wrong. We're sorry. We understand why you're hurt, always the burden of repair placed on me, the one who had been wronged. In February, Madison showed up at my office unannounced. Robert's assistant tried to stop her, but my sister pushed past and walked into the small office I now occupied. You can't avoid me forever, she said. I'm not avoiding you. I'm just not engaging with you. There's a difference. Mom is devastated. Dad's health is suffering from the stress. You're tearing this family apart. I set down my pen carefully. I didn't tear anything apart, Madison. I simply stopped holding it together at my own expense. That's incredibly selfish. Is it? Or is it healthy? I leaned back in my chair. Tell me, has anyone in our family ever apologized for how they treated me and my children? She hesitated. Mom said she was sorry you took things the wrong way. That's not an apology. That's blame shifted back onto me. Madison crossed her arms. What do you want? Some dramatic scene where everyone admits they were wrong? I want nothing, I said honestly. That's what you don't understand. I don't want your apologies or your guilt or your attempts to fix this. I want to live my life with people who value me and my children. You've shown me repeatedly that you don't. So, I'm done. Family doesn't work that way. You don't just walk away. Watch me. Madison left, and I went back to my work. That evening, I took Emma and Lucas to the park even though it was cold. We fed the ducks, played on the swings, and Lucas discovered he could do the monkey bars if Emma spotted him. "I'm doing it," he shouted, his face red with effort and joy. "Mommy, look. I see you, baby. You're so strong." Emma practiced cartwheels on the grass, not quite getting them, but laughing at her attempts. A woman sitting on a nearby bench smiled at us. "Your kids are wonderful," she said. "You can tell they're happy." "They are," I said. "We all are." And it was true. Without the constant weight of my family's disappointment, without the anxiety of never being enough, I felt like I could breathe fully for the first time in years. My children bloomed in the absence of subtle criticism and forced perfect behavior. Emma asked even more questions, her curiosity no longer something to suppress. Lucas's energy, once labeled as too much, became just part of who he was, enthusiastic, joyful, uncontained. Spring came, and with it Emma's 7th birthday. I threw her a party at our house with 10 of her school friends. They played games, made slime, and destroyed my living room. It was chaos and noise and absolutely perfect. Not one person there made me feel like my child or my home wasn't good enough. On Mother's Day, my phone stayed silent. I took the kids to the zoo where Lucas became obsessed with the penguins. Emma spent 30 minutes watching the elephants, studying their behavior like a tiny naturalist. "Did you know elephants mourn their dead?" she told me. "They stand around the body and touch it with their trunks. They remember." "That's beautiful and sad." "It means they understand family," Emma said. "Real family, the kind that stays." Sometimes children understand more than we give them credit for. Summer arrived with pool days, late bedtimes, and popsicles that dripped down chins. I received a promotion at work, now working directly with Robert on complex estate cases. The money was good enough that I could finally start saving again, planning for a future that felt possible. "You've changed," Robert observed one day. "You seem settled." "I am," I said. I stopped waiting for people to give me permission to be happy. Nathan got married that September to someone named Brittany, a teacher he'd met at a professional development seminar. I found out through a wedding announcement Madison posted on social media. I felt nothing but a vague sense of hope that Brittany knew what she was getting into. The holidays approached again, and this time I felt no dread. I'd signed us up to volunteer at the soup kitchen on Thanksgiving, and we were planning our own Christmas traditions. Emma wanted to go ice skating again. Lucas wanted to make gingerbread houses. We would do all of it and more. In early December, I received a letter in the mail. My mother's handwriting on the envelope. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. Inside was a single page. No greeting, no signature. Asterisk, your father had a minor heart attack last month. He's recovering, but the doctor says stress is a major factor. Madison is engaged to be married next June. Nathan and Brittany are expecting a baby in March. Life continues with or without you in it. We would like you to come to Christmas this year. The children are welcome. Please consider letting go of the past. Asterisk, I read it twice, waiting for some surge of emotion. Guilt, anger, longing. But all I felt was a distant sadness for people who still didn't understand what they'd done wrong. "What's that?" Emma asked, peering over my shoulder. "A letter from Grandma." "What does it say?" I folded it carefully and set it aside. "It says they want us to come to Christmas." "Are we going?" I looked at my daughter, so much older than 7 in some ways, still so young in others. "What do you think we should do?" She considered it with a seriousness she brought to everything. "Will they be mean to you?" "Probably not mean exactly, but they might make me feel small." Then we shouldn't go. You're not small. You're the biggest person I know. She hugged me around the waist. Can we make gingerbread houses instead? Yes, I said. We can definitely make gingerbread houses. I threw the letter away, not angrily, not dramatically. I simply put it in the recycling bin with the junk mail and moved on with my evening. Christmas came, our second without them, and it was even better than the first. We'd established our own traditions now: the too-tall tree, the ice skating, the volunteer work, the movies and pajamas. The kids invited 2 friends from school whose parents worked on Christmas Day, and we had a loud, chaotic celebration that would have horrified my mother. Emma and Lucas didn't ask about their grandparents. They didn't seem to miss what they'd never really had: unconditional acceptance and love. On Christmas night, after the kids were asleep and the house was quiet, I updated my blog for the first time in months. I'd kept it private all year, just a record for myself. But now I made it public, changing names but keeping every other detail intact. I titled it, "The Year I Stopped Apologizing for Existing." I didn't expect anyone to read it. But within a week, it had been shared thousands of times. Comments poured in from people with similar stories, people who'd been excluded and diminished and made to feel like their hurt was an overreaction. "This is my story, too," one woman wrote. "Thank you for giving me permission to walk away. I've been trying to earn my family's approval for 20 years, another commented. "Reading this made me realize I never will, and that's okay," a man wrote. "My kids deserve better than people who tolerate them. Thank you for reminding me of that." The responses overwhelmed me. I thought my situation was uniquely painful, but it turned out family betrayal was depressingly common. People who chose image over substance, performance over authenticity, convenience over loyalty. My post reached someone at a local parenting magazine, who contacted me about writing a regular column on single parenting and family dynamics. I accepted, finding I had more to say than I'd realized. One day, the column was picked up by a national outlet. My words, my story, reached even further. I received messages from readers across the country sharing their own experiences of being excluded, diminished, and finally choosing themselves. Madison saw the article. She called, furious. "How could you air our private business to the entire world?" "I changed all the names," I said calmly. "Nobody knows it's about our family unless you tell them. Everyone we know will recognize the story. Then everyone you know will understand why I'm not in your life anymore. I'm okay with that. You're hurting Mom and Dad." This public humiliation is nothing compared to the private humiliation of being told your children aren't good enough for Christmas dinner. I kept my voice steady. "Madison, I'm done having this conversation. I've moved on. You should, too." I hung up before she could respond. It felt good, that clean break. No guilt, no second guessing, just closure. Emma graduated from 2nd grade that spring with perfect attendance and a prize for her science project on renewable energy. Lucas finished kindergarten, able to read full books on his own, something he was immensely proud of. I took them to the beach for a weekend to celebrate. We built sandcastles, collected shells, and ate too much ice cream. "This is the best family ever," Lucas declared, his face covered in chocolate. "The absolute best," Emma agreed. I looked at my children, these incredible humans I'd made, and felt grateful for that phone call a year and a half ago. Grateful for the clarity it had forced, the choice it had demanded. We were small, just the 3 of us. But we were complete. We were enough. We were everything. That's the thing about family. It's not defined by blood or obligation or tradition. It's defined by who shows up, who stays, who chooses you every day, even when it's hard. My children taught me that. They showed me what unconditional love actually looks like. And they deserve to be surrounded by people who could love them the same way. We never did go back to my parents' house. As far as I know, they're still waiting for me to apologize, to make peace on their terms, to pretend the hurt wasn't real. But I'm busy building sandcastles with my kids, watching them grow into people who know their worth, who understand that being loved shouldn't require making yourself smaller. That's my revenge, if you want to call it that. Not anger or bitterness or some dramatic confrontation. Just living well, raising kind children, and refusing to accept less than we deserve. Sometimes the best response to cruelty isn't retaliation. It's simply building a better life. And being happy in it.